Hello and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast that is hosted by me, and it's episode 3. How about that? And on today's episode, I figured I'd give my thoughts finally on that Top Gun movie. You know, it's kind of this underground indie hit. It was directed by some guy and starring some, underground actor. I think his name is Tom Cruise. Alright, so yeah, Top Gun Maverick, one of the biggest movies of the year. It was amazing how, the hype for this movie. Not so much hype, the reaction to this movie, actually. It's one of those rare instances where the hype to it was really not much of anything. It was, because it was a legacy sequel. It was a sequel made years later. When have those ever been any good? Just the sequel that's clearly just made to cash in on the nostalgia of the original. Very rarely do those ever turn out any good. And the trailers were not doing it justice. The trailers for this movie were just god awful. Oh god. I remember being in the theater and just having to hear John Hamm's stupid fucking oh, Captain Pete Maverick Mitchell, let me be perfectly clear, you were not my first choice. It's just oh god, really? Just the dialogue is so terrible in that trailer. And it's just we're doing Top Gun again. It's just, the trailers do not do the movie justice. And it was just, I was not expecting it to be any good. That's why I never made a video on it when it first came out, because I'm just there's no point. I just don't have any interest in seeing this. I already know it's going to suck. I already know I have no nostalgic connection to the first Top Gun. Why would I want to watch a second one? And why would it be any good? Because they're never any good. These legacy sequels, these sequels made years later, these reboot-esque kind of movies, just nostalgia baiting, they're never good. As I've been saying for years now, when a movie's trying to cash in on that nostalgia, no matter what it is, no matter if it's a comic book movie, if it's a Star Wars movie, if it's a fucking, just a legacy sequel of any kind, it's just not gonna be any good. Obviously, there are exceptions, clearly, because, Top Gun Maverick, when it was first coming out, people were like, holy shit, this movie is actually really good. Not even just that, not even just really good, better than the original. People were just going crazy for this movie, and it's a couple months later, people are still going crazy for it. I saw this movie just a couple weeks ago, and at the time of me recording this, and the theater wasn't packed, but there were a lot of people there, and it was really cool. It was really cool to be in a movie that's, on its second month or a couple months down the line of its theater run, and people are still going to see it. That, to me, is really cool, that movies like that can still exist. That's really cool. So as for the movie itself, is it as really good as people say it is? People just went wild for this movie. They were saying oh, it's the best thing ever. It's finally a movie that can stand up to Disney, because it's not just a Marvel movie that's making $1 billion. It's a Hollywood blockbuster starring a very famous actor that anybody could recognize. Win for the little guy, right? Alright, I'm gonna sound like a pretentious asshole when I say this, but Top Gun Maverick, maybe a little overhyped? Maybe? Okay, so in all honesty, is it a good movie? Absolutely. It is pretty good. It's a good movie. It is a very good, very simple movie. It's inoffensive, it's fun, it's very simple. It's not very challenging. You go in, you watch it, you're like, wow, what a nice, simple movie. And you just leave it at that. And I like it for that. I'm like, wow, what a fun and simple experience that was. I was never challenged. I was never in any doubt that this movie was trying to do something different. It was just, hey, here's a Top Gun sequel with flying planes and Tom Cruise says words and Miles Teller is there. He has a funny mustache. Like, it's good. I just can't say it's great. I can't say I was ever blown away by anything. I mean, I was blown away by the effects. You know, the flying scenes were immaculate because they were really freaking good. But I can't say that I was ever wowed to say, like, oh, this is the greatest movie ever. Like, this is a win for movies. This is a win for cinema. Like, this really sticks it to Disney. Yeah, apparently, like, people are calling this, like, oh, it's, you know, sticking up to the Marvel takeover of movie theaters. And it's like, it's another multi-million-dollar movie. Yeah, it's not Marvel, but that doesn't really mean anything. It means literally nothing. Like, it's just another. Of course, it made $1 billion. It was released during the summer. It's a popular, nostalgic IP. It stars Tom Cruise, one of the biggest actors in the history of acting. Like, of course, it was a big hit. Like, yeah, just because it doesn't have Spider-Man or Captain America, and it doesn't really mean it wasn't gonna make $1 billion. I mean, I'm shocked that it made $1 billion because it's like, it's good. You know, it's a good movie, so of course people are gonna want to go watch it because it's fun. But I mean, you know, again, like, it's a good movie, but that's it. It's a good movie. There's really not much else to it. It just is what it is. It never is anything that spectacular outside of, yeah, great flying scenes, but outside of that, the rest of the movie's pretty standard. Not terrible, just standard, like, good. I thumbs up. Very enjoyable time I had while watching it. And it's really interesting because people are saying, like, oh, it's better than the original. And I've seen the original. I saw it to prepare for this movie, and I mean, it's funny that I think I like the original a tiny bit more than most people, whereas I like this one maybe a tiny bit less than most people, but I like them about the same. I can't really say I prefer one or the other between the original Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. They're pretty much just the same to me. Like, they're literally just both a 6 out of 10. Like, yeah, they're good movies. Not really anything spectacular, not really anything offensive either. They're just good and standard. Would I watch them again? Absolutely. I just wouldn't go out of my way to watch them. I don't know why I would. I just don't really care, you know? I just don't care. I don't not care. It's weird to say. Like, I feel like because this movie was just such a gigantic hit, Top Gun Maverick was just such a gigantic hit, that I was expecting a little bit more. And I wasn't disappointed. I was like, yeah, this is a very good movie, a very good and solid movie. I had fun. I was never bored. I was never, like, rolling my eyes, groaning, being like, oh, this sucks. Like, no, it was a very good movie. It was a lot of fun. And I would watch it again, just not on my own volition. I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it. I wouldn't just be like, hey, you know what? I feel like watching Top Gun Maverick. Like, if someone were to suggest it, like, hey, do you want to watch Top Gun Maverick? I'd be like, sure. And that's basically my thoughts on the movie. You know, it's like, I could talk about specifics, like, oh, this and that. But at the end of the day, there's really not much to dissect with this movie. It just is what it is. It's a Top Gun sequel. It's a movie where Tom Cruise gets to show off how cool he is. And he is very cool. Like, he's Tom fucking Cruise. Of course he's fucking cool. You know, I never doubted that for a second. He's flying planes. He's like, oh, I'm flying planes. Look at me, young people. Look at me, Miles Teller. It's like, yeah, cool. that's basically it. Like, there's really not much I can really dissect with this movie. I I I really just I like it. I think it's good. I think people saying it's the greatest movie of all time maybe overhyping it just a little, but I mean, if you think it's really that great, awesome. Like, more power to you. I'm glad people enjoy this. I mean, it's similar to like my thoughts on the Batman earlier this year. How people were like, "Oh, this is like the greatest fucking movie ever. I fucking love the Batman." It's like, yeah, it's a good movie. I liked it. I would watch it again. I just can't say I would return to it as often as other movies that I'm passionate about. You know, I agree that it's a good movie. I just wouldn't say I adore it as much. And even then, like, I like the Batman a little bit more than this one. Probably because I'm more of a Batman fan than I am a Top Gun fan. But still, even with all of that, I still really enjoyed Top Gun Maverick. I still enjoyed seeing it in a theater. You know, the flying scenes were immaculate on the big screen. That was awesome seeing. Just like, it was really cool to see. I will say that it was a movie I was glad I saw in theaters. I was debating whether I would wait until it was like out on Blu-ray or digital. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I watched it in the theater. Like, that was freaking awesome to see. It was the best flying dog fight battles that I've seen in a movie since Star Wars, which is very high praise because the flying scenes in Star Wars, the original trilogy, are fucking fantastic. Like, the fucking Death Star battle, like, mwah, chef's kiss. And these are good too. These are awesome as well. So, would I buy Top Gun Maverick on Blu-ray and add it to my collection? No. Yeah, it does seem weird that I would praise this movie, say like it's a good movie, and then be like, I don't really feel like owning it. But like I said, I'm not really passionate for it. I can't really say this is a movie that I was blown away by, that I was like, oh, I need to see it again. I don't need to see it again. I don't need to see it again. Will I watch it again? Probably. Just, again, not really because I want to, but probably because I just so happen to come across it. And I don't own the first Top Gun on Blu-ray because I'm not really passionate for that movie either. So, and like I said, I pretty much see those two movies on the same level, so I don't really see why I would own them. I'm not really passionate towards either of them. I don't hate them. I don't dislike them. I don't love them. So I don't really see the point in owning them on Blu-ray. Just to like, you know, add dust being in that collection. I mean, that's the point of this podcast, is I'm going through movies. And if a movie just doesn't click with me in any like really impactful way, then I don't see the point in owning it, because it's just going to sit there and do nothing for years and years. So Top Gun Maverick, highly recommend if you haven't watched it yet. I mean, if you haven't watched it yet, I don't know how you're even keeping up with movie news nowadays, but absolutely 100% totally recommend it. Go watch it if you haven't. But it's not one that I would say I'm that passionate towards and that I would own on Blu-ray. But, oh well. Time to actually clean out my collection with today's other movie. A movie that I own on DVD that I watched to see if I would have any interest in keeping it. And it's a movie from 2010. Wow, 2010. Okay. And it's From Paris with Love, starring John Travolta and Jonathan Rhys Meyers. Rhys Meyers? I don't actually care. So I'll read the box. I'll read the back of the box. I think I should start doing that. I feel like that'd be interesting. So let me read the back of this box. James Rhys, Jonathan Rhys Meyers, personal aide to the U.S. ambassador to France, is secretly moonlighting as a low-level CIA operative. Looking for more action, Rhys accepts a job that teams him with wisecracking special agent Charlie Wax, John Travolta. A trigger-happy loose cannon sent to Paris on a mission of international importance. Now, Reese finds himself on the wildest ride of his life as the new partners pull out all the stops to annihilate the enemy in this explosive, white-knuckle, non-stop thriller. Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much what it is. I guess that's the nicest way of putting this movie. Yeah, From Paris with Love. It's definitely an action movie that was directed by the guy who directed Taken. And if you don't like Taken, you're not going to get much out of this. I remember liking Taken. I thought it was a good movie. Not really anything spectacular, but for what it was, just being a simple, not really all that special action movie where Liam Neeson does action stuff. It's like, yeah, it was good. It was exactly what it advertised. It didn't really deviate from the norm. Same as Top Gun Maverick. It was just like, yeah, it was what it was. From Paris with Love, it's a product of its time. Let's start with that. It is a very 2000s, early 2010s action movie where it's banking on it's banking on its action scenes, it's banking on its star power, and not much else. It's banking on John Travolta carrying the movie, and oddly enough, he does, because John Travolta is a fucking maniac who will just do whatever the fuck he wants, and it's not always hilarious results, like with Nicolas Cage, but John Travolta has his special little performances. Battlefield Earth, The Fanatic. I haven't seen The Fanatic, but I've seen plenty of reviews. And I feel like this should be within those kinds of movies. At least his performance. John Travolta is definitely the highlight of this movie. Let's be real here. That's what the movie was banking on. That's what happens with the movie. He is the highlight of the movie. Charlie Wax is just this nutball of a character. And it's really funny. Like, every scene that he is in, I'm 100% behind. I'm like, this guy is nuts. This guy is an asshole. He is despicable. If I knew him in real life, I would hate him. He is the only reason that this movie is not entirely worthless. He is so hilariously just crazy and just does the most insane shit. And the movie rewards him for it. So basically, the whole story is that Jonathan Rhys Meyers is investigating this drug bust. They're basically just running around Paris trying to find these like drug dealers, and then they come across this whole conspiracy to cause a terrorist attack at some France, U.S., African aid summit, whatever. Yeah. And unsurprisingly, because this is post 9/11, the villains are all Islamic terrorists. And it's about as what you would expect from a post 9/11 2000s Hollywood portrayal of Islamic terrorists, in that it's very Islamophobic. And I'm not just saying that it's Islamophobic because, Muslims are the bad guys. That means that it's Islamophobic. Like, every Muslim character in this movie is a terrorist. So it's like, that's not really that great. And it's not like, and I'm not even kidding. Every Muslim character, every character that has brown skin, every character that clearly just the filmmakers are like, oh, this is what a Muslim looks like. Like, that's every type of those characters in this movie turns out to be a bad guy. Turns out to be just just the worst kind of like, oh, I hate America. I'm gonna blow up everything because that's what my God tells me to. It's like, oh God, like, it's like, it's very, very collar pulling. Like, you're just like, how long ago did this come out? Like, only 12 years at this point? It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Oh God. It's embarrassing. It, honest to God, is just so embarrassing to watch. And you're just like, oh God, it's... and obviously not every second of this movie is just like, oh, all Muslim people are terrorists. It's just like, it's I mean, they do give some chance to some very racist portrayal of Asian people. So, everybody's getting hit with the stereotype stick. So, but the movie never... It feels like a parody of this kind of stuff because the Asian characters are very stereotypical. As I said, the Muslim characters are very stereotypical. John Travolta's like this very trigger-happy, gun-toting American stereotype. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers is like this wormy white guy stereotype. All the French people are stereotypical French people. Like, every person in this movie is a stereotype, but it's not done so in a parody kind of way. It's done so for seriousness. Like, I guess maybe for laughs, but also just because the movie takes itself seriously. It's like, no, this is what people are like. It's like, no. It's, oh God, it's like, it's so baffling to watch that a movie just treats these things unironically. The main twist of the movie is that Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, his girlfriend, his Muslim girlfriend, who I didn't even realize was Muslim because I think the actress is Polish, but I guess she's supposed to be a Muslim French woman. She turns out to be a terrorist. She's like, she reveals herself to Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, and it's just like, years ago, I realized my faith, and I'm like, oh God. And she's like, I know what I must do. I must blow up this summit so I could please my God. It's just like, oh God, you're hurting me with your stereotypes movie. Just when this movie's not on John Travolta, it's insufferably boring. It is so boring because, well, first of all, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, boring fucking main character. He's just like, oh, I want to be a CIA operative. But then he's also like scared as he's like trying to be a CIA operative with John Travolta. It's just like, I've seen this before. It's so lame. It's so unbelievably lame to just watch him like just be this wormy bureaucrat guy who's just like, oh, this isn't the way that we're supposed to do it. This isn't by the book. And John Travolta's like, oh, I'm a little unorthodox. It's just like, oh God, I mean, anytime John Travolta's chewing the scenery is just, it's something. It's something. This movie is just full of characters who are just bowls of oatmeal, just walking around blandly. And then John Travolta comes in with a little bit of flavor, and it's something. It's not much, but it's something. He's the only reason that I watched through the movie and I was like, all right, it's not entirely worthless. The cinematography is garbage because it's the shaky cam, late 2000s bullshit. Like I said, it's incredibly Islamophobic by just painting every Muslim person as a terrorist. So, and even the action is just, it's not even really that amazing. Like, I remember occasional things. I remember occasional shootouts. I remember when John Travolta throws a bomb outside of a window and it lands on a car and it explodes. Like, that was a cool scene. But, it's not enough to make me say, like, this was an amazing experience. It was not funny bad. Like, and I wish it was. John Travolta giving this hammy performance belongs in a funny bad movie. I want to see him act like this in a movie that understands that it's funny bad, that understands that it's not some grand that is not some serious action movie. That is not some allegory for, or not really allegory, just straight up saying like, oh, all Muslim people are terrorists. No, just stop trying to 2000s, stop trying to act like a 2000s movie. It's enough. All right, we get it. Be funny bad. I wanted it to be funny bad, but it wasn't. It was just bad. It was just boring bad. Because like I said, any scene that didn't have John Travolta was insufferably boring. It was just the worst. It was just, I don't care. Every time he wasn't on screen, I was like, I don't care. Go back to John Travolta shooting people and acting like a dick. Yeah, he's a fucking horrible person, but at least it's something. At least I got something out of it. He's just being this terrible person. It's just it's so stupid, but oh god, it was so funny. What a boring movie that just has very questionable morals, just the most awful cinematography. And on top of that, this DVD, it's a DVD. It's a DVD made of a movie from the 2010s. And you can tell because it's so, and this isn't really the movie's fault, but this is something that bugs me about DVDs now. Obviously, because Blu-rays were and are now more common, but DVDs aren't entirely dead. When VHS tapes were being phased out, it was because DVDs had really crashed the VHS market. DVDs were the next big thing. And so then Blu-rays came along and they were like, oh, they were going to overtake DVDs. But they didn't. That's why they still make DVDs to this day, is because Blu-rays didn't entirely take over the DVD market. And so you still get movies that are made on DVD. And it's just, and this DVD is so crappy. The quality itself on the disc is fine. I'm not really a big snob when it comes to quality on the disc, but just the box is just so lame. It's so thin, and it does that thing that I can't stand. So the box has the recycling logo inside cut out, and so then you get this thin, flimsy box that's just yeah, you can hear it. It's just it's so flimsy and weak and crappy, and you just God, it's just, who cares? And this poster is just so stupid. The cover of this DVD is just so stupid. It's just John Travolta, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, and then a blood stain in the back with bullet holes, and then it says "From Paris with Love." It's just and then you go to the back and there's blood stains and explosions, and it's just who cares? What am I looking at? It's just generic action movie whateverness. It's just so lame, and I honestly just do not care for it. I don't like it outside of John Travolta's performance. It's not worth it. It's not worth keeping. Yeah, if you couldn't tell. If it was more funny bad, if John Travolta's hammy performance, if the movie actually reflected his hammy her performance and the movie was a lot funnier, then I would be you know what? This is worth keeping just for the sheer wackiness of it all. But it's not. It is so unbelievably lame. It is so tiresomely boring. It's nothing. There is nothing to this movie. It's a crappy DVD. It's gone. It's gone. I'm not keeping it. So, that about does it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for just tuning in and hearing me ramble about a couple of movies. One that's really good that I don't want to own, and another that's not very good that I also don't want to own. I swear someday I'll come across a DVD or a Blu-ray or a VHS tape that I own that I want to keep, but that's what this show is all about. You never know with some of these movies. You never know if I'm going to keep it or if I'm not going to keep it. That's just one thing that we'll all discover, even myself. I don't even know yet. So Again, thank you all for listening, and I'll see you next time.